All right, well, it looks like nobody else is joining at this point, so we might as well get started. So I'm Kevin Herbchuk from the University of Wisconsin. The whole idea of this Ceph, HTC, HPC science group came out of a CEPHlicon earlier this year in Barcelona. Some of us, got together for impromptu birds of a feather after the sessions one day and had a decent conversation, and there was some interest in at least, keeping in touch and, continuing that conversation from time to time. So we figured we'd give it a shot through the, using the Ceph blue genes and, just go from there. We're all working in, a very kind of limited topic here, HTC, HPC, and whatnot. So we probably are having some of the same problems, solving other problems, a lot of similarities, and it could be worth it for people to stay in touch occasionally and share thoughts, ideas, problems, all that sort of stuff. Experiences, basically. As I kind of mentioned in the email to the user list, hopefully, I'm more than happy to direct this, but, this should, as a user group, I'd like to have input from as many people as possible and getting people to share their thoughts and ideas and, not just a single person, driving the entire meeting or, just doing a presentation for the entire meeting. So going from there, I thought, for this first one, we should just go around and briefly talk about, a few minutes worth a person and, where you're from, what you're doing with stuff, what research is being done, any, cool information or thoughts you have about a meeting like this and how we can keep it going or, whatever. Feel free to pop in anytime and say anything. Any thoughts or comments so far? Otherwise, I can start out with the whole what I'd be doing with Ceph thing and just start passing it down the line.
I guess I can start. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. A little quiet, but it'd just be my laptop.
Okay. So, I'm from the University of Zurich, Switzerland. We have like 2 Ceph clusters that we use mainly for two use cases. Like one is OpenStack, so RBD, and the other is CephFS file system we actually mount on the cluster we have running in-house. Size-wise, I guess we are like in between 100 and 1,000 USDs, depending on the cluster. My idea of a group was actually to share best practices and also understand to share actually issue or problems and maybe solution, hopefully, to scaling issues we can face or error we don't understand or follow up from the Ceph users mailing list. So I guess a little bit of a sharing group for best practices and whatnot.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had in mind for this. And great. So I guess I'll start off with a quick intro to what we do here. So at the University of Wisconsin, there's a whole ton of research groups. I work at the Space Science and Engineering Center on a NASA-funded contract for working with satellite data imagery. We use Ceph as our primary storage pool We have about 8 petabytes of raw disk. One thing I learned at Ceph this year is that apparently we are one of the few outliers. We use librados directly. We built a Python library on top of the existing Python bindings. We don't use the S3 or Rados gateway stuff really at all. We use a little Cephfs here and there as scratch space, but I was kind of surprised to hear that everybody's mostly using S3 and not using the librados directly like we do. We have our reasons for doing that, mostly because it gives you direct access to the data on the OSDs, and there's no real bottlenecks when you have 100 compute nodes banging at the Ceph cluster at the same time, so you don't have the issue of having to scale your gateways to meet that need. What else do we do with it? Other than that, RBDs for overcluster, Cephfs, and RBDs for Kubernetes. We don't deal with Rook or anything like that, and Ceph. I'm kind of interested to hear if anybody's actually tried Rook at scale for, gig scale for Ceph and HTC. I kind of doubt it so far, but I'm not looking to do it, but if anybody's attempted it, that could be interesting to hear about. We do it every time we talk about what we do. If there's a developer in the audience, we usually get some feedback of complaints that our objects are too big, because we drop 5+ gig objects into librados directly, and the developers don't like that. But that's only a small amount of our data. Most of it's more than 300 megabyte per object. So if anybody has any questions or anything about what I just said, feel free to pop it in. Otherwise, we can pass it off to somebody else to give us a few-minute talk. Anybody who's willing.
Okay, so since I'm next on the list, maybe I can continue. So I'm Simon from Switch, which is the research network for the Swiss universities. And we're also based in Zurich, like Mattia. We run this on behalf of the other universities, basically. We started to use Ceph 5 years ago as a basis for OpenStack cluster, so mostly for RBD, but we also installed the Rados gateway and without really thinking much about it, and it got popular quite quickly. Also for some surprising to us applications, some people started to distribute videos that were streamed directly from Rados gateway to hundreds of browsers out there, which created some funny performance issues initially. But now it's sort of well accepted as a product that lives on its own. Recently, we have people have started to expatriate backups or backups of backups from some commercial systems that now support S3, and that for us it's a high performance use case. We don't really do HPC or HTC. It's more like a missing middle kind of offer that we have. No ambitions to become like supercomputing like the other people in Switzerland doing that better. But with people who want to copy these large 100 terabyte data sets, of course, it's becoming a performance issue just to do the logistics. But we find that some applications manage that really well by doing lots of parallel transfers. So I'm pleasantly surprised what can be gotten out of this object store idea when you have decent software. Over a good connection. I mean, it's not like gigabytes per second, but we certainly exceed gigabits per second for these tasks. So far, it has been sufficient, I think, and we hope to scale that further out. Yeah, but we have 2 clusters in 2 different cities in Switzerland. There are about 900 OSDs and 500 OSDs respectively. And yeah, also in light of these new use cases, we have started to do erasure coding. Usually the RBD stuff is all replicated 3 ways as traditional, and the newer, more long-term storage uses H+3 erasure coding mainly. And some of the buckets, due to the way the software works, have become quite big, like in the hundreds of millions of objects range, could grow to the billions, and that also poses some problems with some of the APIs, the S3 APIs with Artist Gateway. I think there are some improvements on the way there. Looking forward to that. Yeah, that's it for me. Next will be Dan, I think, if we go down the list.
Yeah, is my mic working okay? I'm not using my usual stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's Dan here from CERN. I think in the past we publicized a lot how we're using Ceph. The things that we're doing more now is I think we're ramping up our OpenStack Manila use case, like CephFS stuff, and we're seeing some of the limitations of like MDS limitations, performance of single MDSs, using multiple MDSs, trying to scale horizontally, trying to understand how the metadata balancing works, because in our experience, it's not that effective actually. The way that Ceph decides to move directories between MDSs actually has some kind of like unintended side effects. If people want to get into that, we can elaborate a bit. We're also, on the S3 side, we have an S3 cluster that we're starting to back up lots of home directory data to. We're backing up with a tool called Restic, which is working pretty well. And we also want to add a second region. So that's like something that's not quite understood is how to like transparently add a second region to an S3 setup, and then let users selectively like mirror their buckets across the second region, like on a case-by-case basis. It's not clear exactly how to do that. And lastly, most of our hardware is getting pretty old now. It's like 5 or 7 years old in most cases. So we're trying to spec out the cheapest bulk servers that we can get. And the kind of servers, it seems like the likely servers that we'll get would be like 48 disks, 48 12 terabyte disks. And I'm just not sure that that's going to work that well with Ceph, because like all of our block storage will be put onto probably 12 servers like that. And putting all the block storage on only 12 such dense servers doesn't sound that attractive, but it seems like we're going to have to do it anyway for cost reasons. So yeah, that's like the main stuff that's going on. Yeah,
that's actually a fairly similar footprint to what we're doing at RIT here, in terms of a fewer number but larger bulk servers.
Okay, and do you do like I was thinking like 4 or 8 half terabyte SSDs for RocksDB? Is that what you guys do?
Yeah, each of our bulk nodes has 3?
Two 1.2 terabyte microns for RocksDB, and then we have 2 or 3 Optanes in there that I have set up for metadata for CephFS per bulk node.
Yeah. We'll put some extra OSD SSDs as well for metadata, and also like for S3 bucket indexes if we need.
But we're getting by with just 10 bulk nodes, and our performance has been pretty good.
It's okay. I mean, one of the issues that we see is that we have like the current hardware is something like 40 servers with 24 6 terabyte drives each, and I think we've run out of IOPS on that cluster. Like we measured the latency pretty closely, and it seems that even though it's only 60% full on capacity, the latency has increased to like over 100 milliseconds per 4K write, which is pretty nasty. So anyway, we'll see. That's all for me.
But just from our side, I'm not doing 48 disks per node, but we're running the 12 terabyte drives at 24 per node, and that's been going well for us so far. But I haven't been putting any NVMe in front of it at all.
Okay.
Well done. I'm next on the list. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good news. Okay, the technology works. So Dave Holland at the Sanger Institute. Yeah, we've been using Ceph for a few years now. The main motivation is OpenStack. So we've got it for RBD, for volumes. But the winner that surprised us was S3. We thought we'd have a little bit of S3 use, but actually the users really love it. Taken off, and far and away the majority use is S3 now. We've got 51 servers with 60 disks, so 60 OSDs per server, so 3060 altogether. 3 Rados gateways in front, and we're looking to up that to 6 with some clever HA proxy network stuff in front. What we found recently, our most recent fire, is that people like clients that leave the S3 connections open, and that ties up connections, so then other clients can't get in. So we're looking at something with HA proxies to mitigate that. I'm not the tech lead. I'm really not supposed to be here, but the tech lead for Ceph here is on holiday. It's Matthew Vernon. He was at Cephalicon. If you've got any questions, then fire away. Otherwise, who's next?
Hi, this is Ben Meekoff from University of Michigan. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, nobody else seems to be talking, so I'll just go ahead. So I am actually the lead engineer on a project called Osiris. We're a collaboration between U of M, University of Michigan, Michigan State University, and Wayne State University, as well as Indiana University. So we're a research data storage platform based on Ceph. Perhaps a unique thing about our installation is that it actually has storage elements at all 3 of the Michigan universities, pretty much equally divided. We have about 1,000 OSDs, again, pretty much equally divided between the sites. We also operate a very small installation at Van Andel Institute in Grand Rapids, which is just a Ceph cache tier. We just have a three nodes replicated with NVMe disks, and we have a cache tier on top of cache pool that's tiered on top of their main data storage pool, and then they primarily access Ceph with S3 via a Rados gateway, again on their site. So we provide Ceph FS and S3. Most of the Ceph FS usage is data transfer services like Globus or even people just, SVPing from transfer gateways. But we do also provide NFS mounts on our campuses using Ganesha NFS with Kerberos-based identity mapping to deal with the POSIX ID issues, which Cephfs can't do it directly. And we do that we actually keep the ID maps in LDAP. I guess that about covers it for us. Any questions or whatever, we do have a website too. So.
Is that Osiris cluster the one where there's a replication between the 3 sites, or is that a different thing?
No, that's
okay.
what we do. Yeah. Although we
so it's one replication.
Yeah. To us, part of the advantage or reason to start with Ceph in this context was that we could also choose to have pools that don't replicate across sites. It depends on what the use case is and what makes the most sense. We can have a pool that's crush mapped to only one site if that might make sense, or erasure coded at one site, whatever.
Gotcha.
Hi there, this is Stig Telfer from Stack HPC in the UK. We don't use Ceph at any particularly large scale in the environments that we've been working with, but we've been using it a little bit differently in that we've been experimenting with developing CephFS as an ad hoc home directory for Slurm clusters deployed in OpenStack bare metal environments. I also did some work which I presented at Ceph Day in Berlin on our role with Ceph at the Human Brain Project at the Jülich Supercomputer Center. So our take has been a little bit more experimental, but we also use it in an OpenStack context in the sort of the conventional way as well. I think that's all from me.
Well, it seems like nobody else is going at the moment, so there's two of us here from the Research Computing Group at Rochester Institute of Technology. We have a Ceph cluster that we use as part of our HPC environment and our virtualization environment. We've got approximately 36 nodes in total, 10 of which are our bulk nodes and 10 of which are cold. Oh, I'm sorry.
24 cold, 3 NVMe.
And 3 hot nodes. We have that serving via CephFS right now,
And RBD.
as well as RBDs, which are consumed by Overt for our virtualization environment. So far, it's been pretty awesome. We have a 100 gig back-end network for everything, and we are starting to poke at RDMA.
And we've been trying to push more and more stuff into CephFS and running into all sorts of fun scaling issues with the MDS servers, and specifically clients not letting go of caps.
Yep.
That one's all interesting.
Yep.
I think that's all we've got.
Yeah, super familiar with that problem here at CERN too.
Not surprising at all.
Just out of curiosity, for your RBDs and Overt, are you using the Cinder plugin and Overt to get that done, or are you doing a different method?
We've actually been using them for long enough that we were before the managed block device plugins existed. So we do have a Cinder bridge in place for it with Keystone to handle the individual keys. We're in the process, however, of rolling it over to CephFS because we found that the performance hit is small enough that we can make that up by just throwing a little bit more cores at it. And that hasn't been a big enough pain point for us. And then the benefit of having it as a file system versus raw block is a lot greater than the downsides.
That's interesting. I hadn't considered that because I do the RBD Overt Cinder thing right now, and I haven't really tested it. I just assumed I was gonna CephFS would have a decent performance penalty, but maybe not.
In the not especially scientific tests we did, it was less than 5%.
Yeah, could be worth it.
Our problem was that we did the testing on a live environment that has other workloads on it. So I can't say specifically it was, sub 5% and that was the concrete number, but it was not a, 20% or a very, very large pain.
Gotcha.
Hello, this is Adam Hoffman at the Big Data Institute in Oxford. We have been using Ceph primarily with OpenStack. Rados product devices, other people saying nothing particularly exciting, but we are actually looking at using Ceph for multi-site backup and object storage. So I'd definitely be interested in the other site that mentioned they were doing that. I think it's Michigan. Yeah, our OpenStack usage is very, very standard, nothing very exciting.
Starting to feel like I'm the only one who's not doing OpenStack.
We played with it and then noped out when we found it just wasn't quite what we needed.
Yeah, it doesn't solve a problem for me right now, just the way our team and our infrastructure works. So Over it does good for what I need a VM for, and everything else is bare metal.
We actually had Ceph running with RDMA in the past, but we ran into some firewall issues with it. We're hoping to turn that back on sometime soon.
Out of interest, was that with Rocky or iWarp or what?
Rocky V2, Mellanox Connect X5 cards.
Okay, thank you.
It's hard to firewall things when it doesn't actually touch the kernel.
I can go next. My name is Douglas Fuller, and I'm the CEPHFS engineering manager at Red Hat. And in a previous life, I worked in research computing at universities and later at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So I'm definitely interested to see how research computing is pushing the bounds of CEPHFS, and I'm interested in making sure that CEPHFS moves in a direction that's helpful to everyone. I think a lot of times in terms of file system, research is out on the forefront of file system usage. So I'm definitely interested to hear about all your use cases and pain points. And it looks like we have a fairly strong Switzerland contingent here. I'll be at the Ceph Day at CERN, so come up and say hi if we haven't met before.
Thinking of interesting use cases for CephFS, we have actually been in the process of rolling out some SMB data movers with a Active Directory-based DFS namespace in front of them to solve some of our very long-term file services issues. The benefit of having it be a clustered file system has been amazing in terms of our ability to scale for SMB. I know that's not necessarily a HPC or particularly scientific use case, but it's one that we weren't really expecting to run into and has been awesome so far.
That sounds interesting. What are you using for the front end? The SMB service?
2 RHEL 7 boxes at the moment, and then we've got a small dev pool also that are joined to our Active Directory, and then we use CephFS to be the backend storage for them. Because DFS and DFSR on Windows requires a replicated backend, we've had a lot of issues with that in like our VMware environment and some other areas. So we found, okay, what if we just take Windows out of the equation and just have individual shares that are served by multiple SMB nodes. We call them our data movers, and then use the DFS namespace in the front to present a single entry point to end users, and then the client machines can automatically load balance between them.
I see, thanks.
Anyone else want to share? Who hasn't?
I do have a question about, just generally speaking, what type of hardware are people using? What brands and whatnot?
We tend to focus on Supermicro chassis. Best bang for the buck in our experience.
I've been stuck with buying Dell hardware for everything. For the Supermicro stuff, does that come fully built out, or is it a lot of hands-on? Are you buying bare bones and building them up yourself?
We've actually done it both ways. When we bought our bulk nodes, we ended up buying the bare bones chassis and then the drives and NVMEs and everything separate. Recently, we've started a direct relationship with Supermicro, and now we just buy them fully provisioned. So it's, hey, Supermicro, I want 3 of these nodes crammed with these NVMe drives and this much RAM and all this other stuff. Go. And it just shows up.
With a warranty and all. So the whole argument about Supermicros and not having a warranty or not having a single source of warranty goes away also with that.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. And probably way cheaper than the Dell stuff I'm forced to buy.
So we've bought Quanta initially, and lately more Supermicro for some reason. And we always bought a small chassis, 1U with, so initially 2U with 12 large disks, and now it's 1U with 12 disks. Yeah. Also thinking about moving to a larger chassis, but my colleagues will have to convince me that this is really worth the savings are worth the risk, similar to what Dan mentioned. I hope we can get cheap enough compact small chassis so that we can continue to work like this, but I'm not sure.
I just recently built out a cold storage tier to go with our bulk tier, and that was 24 1U nodes. And per terabyte, it was a very comparable cost, and I ended up accidentally making a hot tier out of it just from the sheer parallelism across all the OSDs, and it's 24 nodes. So if I had to do the whole thing over again, I would probably roll everything into 1Us instead of the 4U 36 bay bulks that I have.
Our 1U nodes right now each have 12 drives in it.
12 drives, no NVMe for rocks or anything, because that's all just cold, I don't care stuff. But I could make them even faster, which is nice to know.
Hi all, can anyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
John? Good. Yeah, hi. Yeah, I've got a couple of things about hardware. Up until recently, I worked in the seismics industry for the company called CGG. I've just recently started work with a startup company in applying deep learning to medical imaging and breast cancer diagnosis. We're not an OpenStack shop. We are principally Kubernetes. We've got some interesting use cases in that we want to actually deploy Ceph file systems into hospitals securely as appliances, so that the images actually stay in the hospital and we can run deep learning algorithms on them, but they won't be sent outside of the hospital. I've two questions really. The first is, people seem to be using CephFS in production. In the past, people have recoiled in horror and said they've had problems with CephFS. It is reliable.
So far, I don't know if you can hear the knocking on wood, but so far.
Yeah. Cool. That's good to hear, because we use S3 at the moment, but we would like to use an actual CephFS setup. The other question in hardware is, has anyone looked at the ARM-based servers, principally from Soft Iron, of course, and also there's something called a Mars 800, which is one small ARM processor attached to each drive and put in a chassis with a switch. I believe they were made for a design for Alibaba. Has anyone used any of those servers?
We've drooled at those. We have done a little bit of stuff with like Raspberry Pis and a couple of external hard drives, but nothing in prod or anything like that.
The problem with the Pis is they don't have a SATA interface.
It's not good.
Yeah.
We have.
I've heard about that stuff. It looks interesting.
We have an early, a pre-release version of the soft iron hardware, which has been running for one of our systems, and the performance for the spec of the box is very good. It's a very efficient system.
Thank you. I still don't know where the
going back to the CephFS thing.
Yeah.
We have so we haven't had any data loss, I would say. We've had one issue where there was an error message that Jean, the developer, said, "Oh, you better run an FSCK," but we didn't run the FSCK yet, so maybe there's some metadata damage. I don't think so, but maybe. But on the other hand, we did have a 1 hour outage, which was the result of a few clients that so someone started a little mini Kubernetes thing, maybe 16 clients that just did a recursive ls minus l on a few million files, and all of those clients were using a buggy release, Mimic version 13.2.1, and they all started doing this thing where they refused to respond to capabilities release, and this if this goes on for a few hours, we didn't notice, and then it was going on and on and on. Actually, for more than a day, it was going on. Eventually, the MDS goes out of memory, and then the MDS fails over to your standby MDS, and then the standby MDS goes out of memory too. So then you get this ping pong situation where none of the MDSs have enough memory to start. And the only way that we found to get out of this, short of finding a server with more memory, was that we killed the clients. And by killing the clients, so hard killing the clients, so that they don't even try them out, I guess during the CephFS reconnect phase, it doesn't bother reloading all of the capabilities for those clients that it sees has disappeared. So that was pretty scary. And now we monitor this capabilities thing very closely if any clients are misbehaving and not releasing.
Hey, you can kill any file system if you put your mind to it. Come on.
Yeah, sure. It's true. I mean, we're trying to evaluate to see if we can use it as a general home directory, and it's not nice when just a few 10 clients can break everything.
We've found one of our ways to get out of jail with the caps not going away and the memory just ballooning up is if we remove all of the bare MDSs and just say, okay, you have one remaining MDS server, here's a giant swap file. Just go chew through it. It won't try to fail over because there's no one to fail over to, and it'll eventually come back. It's painful, but you don't end up with the round robin stoneth ping-ponging effect.
Okay. I hope we don't have to try this again, but keep that in mind.
I haven't used this. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'll mention one issue we had. We had a user rsynching data to us with some kind of homegrown rsync-based script that created huge amounts of hard links to like to basically account for older versions of files that didn't change. And it ended up completely overloading a certain hidden pool that Ceph has for gray inodes. And we had to keep increasing the, I forgot now what parameter we had to keep increasing, but I'm sure a developer or somebody familiar would know right away. And it just, at some point, it basically makes it so when you hit that limit, nobody can write any data or nobody can delete any data because it can't create inodes in this, or it can't create objects in this, it's not a hidden pool, it's a hidden directory, I guess. So I don't know, I'm probably fuzzing the description a little bit, but a lot of hard links are not good for CephFS is the point.
Yeah, we had that too. Sorry if I keep talking, but the problem, the hard links issue is specifically if someone creates hard links, like they create a file, then they hard link to that file, and then they delete the original file. So in that case, Ceph puts the original file into that stray directory, and there's a limit of 1 million stray files by default. So,
right.
Yeah. So there's a thing that you can increase to increase that hard limit. But also there's a couple of tickets in the tracker where they're trying to like preemptively. So the way that you can fix that is you just have to stat the new inode, and the consequence of statting it is that Ceph realizes internally that the hard link points at a stray thing, and then it reintegrates that inode so that like the new copy of the file is like the primary and it's no longer in the stray. So we had someone doing the same. They were like creating millions of hard links then deleting. But all that they did is we asked them to put a little ls-l to their hard link after they do it, and it kind of fixed everything. Fixed for that workload.
Yeah, I might be able to ask this user to do that. We kind of told them that for the time being, your use case is not good for us. So we're hoping it would really get fixed.
Okay, so one thing, I'm going to get off the tech stuff for a minute here that I wanted to talk about is reoccurrence of doing this sort of virtual thing. I kind of set a little poll at the bottom of the Ceph pad that people can, put an X next to or whatever is monthly too much? Is every 2 months good? Once a quarter? I've been part of some other like group virtual meetings before, and sometimes every month it ends up feeling a little forced, or whatever. So, what's people's thoughts? I mean, I want this to be, user community driven. I'm probably not going to be scheduling presentations from people unless somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I have an interesting thing I can share with everybody and talk about it for half an hour." So it's kind of I'm going to leave it up to the people. And I was probably already planning on not in September because the Ceph Day at CERN will be going on there, and got that, and then a week and a half, 2 weeks later, you'd have a call to discuss the same exact stuff again. So vote and go from there. Oh, and then somebody did mention like an alternating time zone for APAC folks. I got a couple responses from Australia and New Zealand, and saying they were interested, but unless they're up in the middle of the night, there's no way they're gonna make a call at this time. So I don't really know how to deal with that well, unless somebody wants to organize a call for specifically APAC folks that more works for the wide range of time zones over there. For people who can't make a call at this time work. Anybody have thoughts? Looks like 2 months.
There's a big deal of activity around Ceph, particularly in Australia. I mean, there's I don't know if you're going to the OpenStack Summit in Shanghai, but there's a presentation there scheduled about using CephFS with MPI workloads from Pawsey Supercomputer Center. So we also know people from other sites across Australia and New Zealand where there are extensive Ceph deployments for research computing. So I think it's a useful or a significant group of people and expertise around this area. The other thing I'd say is that from OpenStack experience, the best meetings are the face-to-face ones. So I think if there are people who regularly attend things like CephLaCon or Ceph Days, actually just getting together at those places and having birds of feather sessions is the very best way of sharing information and breaking down barriers around this kind of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. The in-person stuff is best by far. But sometimes it's for the people that can only make it like one conference a year or so, and spread all over the world. So that was the idea, was at least this way, doing these virtual meetings, we slightly keep in touch. So that way, every time, if you only do this stuff once a year and you go see these people, it's not meeting a whole bunch of strangers again every time you go. But yeah, it does definitely seem like the APAC region would probably be interested. I've heard that there's a lot of Ceph usage in China, but they just word doesn't get out about it as much. I'm sure they're doing some real cool stuff, but they just don't have the forum to share it in, possibly. So, anybody has thoughts for that? That could be useful. Well, it looks like 2 months is winning, so maybe we plan for the month after. Was it August now, October? Unless people think want to skip the month that's after the Ceph Day at CERN. Otherwise, I was going to ask Dan or Julian to talk for a few minutes about the Ceph Day at CERN, if you got any interesting information for people attending to help them out. They've never been there before. Feel free to share something.
Sure. Well, okay. Is it clear? Are there any specific questions logistics that anyone has for the people. So I mean I recognize a lot of the names on there. Lots of speakers, lots of people have registered. For the people that haven't been to CERN yet, is it clear how to get to CERN? And like, are the hotel things working out? Is all of that working fine? Is there any specific questions or concerns there?
It seemed pretty straightforward. It's right off of the public line. So
basically, so your hotel in Geneva, the hotels give a free tram pass, like a free transit pass. And so take the tram to CERN. It'll say CERN on it. And it's also the last stop. So, and then you just enter at the CERN reception building. And there, please come with your badges already pre-printed, and you'll just be able to just beep it and get right in. Then there's like around maybe 400 meters of corridors and buildings that you have to walk through, and then we're in the main auditorium of CERN. So we'll have like a desk there where you can, I don't know, we'll have stuff there, I guess. I don't know what exactly, because you won't really need a conference badge. You'll have your CERN access card will act as your badge. We'll have coffee for when people arrive, so you can probably get like a croissant and a coffee if you want to skip breakfast. The agenda looks super cool. I'm really excited about all the talks. I'm really we got lots of talks, and we managed to accept basically everyone that submitted. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah, we'll have like after the Saturday, we'll have a little reception at just outside the auditorium, so where we can kind of mingle and stuff. But there's nothing currently planned for after that, so we're kind of like thinking about sending out a poll maybe to see who would be interested to go into Geneva that night, and then I don't know, find some typical Swiss chalet restaurant or something. I don't know if it's too late to book something like that, but anyway, we'll send a message around about that if we find some place that looks available. Otherwise, we'll just have to do it. We'll just organize something ad hoc. Any questions about the Ceph day itself?
Hey Dan, how long is that tram trip?
Where's your hotel?
Right next to the. It's one of the ones you recommended, right next to the train station.
So it's probably about a 20-minute tram ride. Is that right, Julian, Roberto? Julian and Roberto are on the line. We're not in the same room. Does that sound about right? 20 minutes, guys?
Something like between 20 and 30 minutes, but closer to 20 minutes, I think.
Well, yeah, 20 minutes. Yeah. I mean, if you've got some kind of like Google Maps or type thing, that it works. The transit app works on that.
Cool, thank you.
Maybe be careful because in the morning it's like super crowded. So just to mention.
The tram, yeah, your mic's a bit fuzzy, but yeah, the tram can be crowded in the morning. That's true. So otherwise, I mean, we organized this. We chose the date because it coincides with a CERN Open Days event, which is something that they host now. CERN hosts now whenever there's like a long shutdown of the accelerator complex. They visit like various sites that are normally closed. So that'll be Saturday and Sunday. You can go to like opendays.cern. CERN is a TLD, so opendays.cern works, and then you can see the different sites. And some of the things require pre-registration. I don't know if it's too late. I don't know. I hope that people have already pre-registered for some of the tours if they were interested. But otherwise, have a look there if you are interested. I'm really sorry that the Ceph day is not on the Monday right afterwards. That obviously would have been our preference, but all of the conference rooms are like completely booked up the Monday after for basically cleanup, because on the Saturday and Sunday they'll have public lectures in the conference rooms, and then on the Monday they want to clean them up. So we couldn't do that. So if you are coming for the weekend to profit from that, then you can also like profit from walking around Geneva on Monday or going to the Alps or something. Or yeah, I guess. Are there any questions about the open days?
Any tips for actually getting to go underground?
Well, did you try? Did you register?
They don't put it on the pre-registration.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me have a look, and then I'll send you a mail. Okay, Doug?
That'd be awesome. Thank you, Dan.
I thought I saw that the stuff for going underground seemed to be like first come, first serve.
Yeah.
What it looked like to me on the registration stuff.
Might be. I'm pretty sure that there was a pre-registration, but maybe those dates are booked. Julian, Roberto, do you guys know about that?
Not really. You have to check, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I have some. I know people. Some of the Canadians that are coming, they told me they registered for some stuff. So there must be either it was available and it's no longer.
Yeah. You can pre-register for a bunch of tours, but the underground stuff is not available on the pre-registration system.
Oh, then it's all fully booked. So you just have to.
Well, so they tell you that they don't do pre-registration for it because it is so popular, and it's therefore like first come, first serve.
Oh, okay, fine.
So it's just exempted, I think, from that registration system. So I was just wondering if there were, if there were any best, like how early did I need to get there, for example?
Yeah. If are people, I mean, if people are, I mean, for the people on this call, if you're staying around on, yeah, for the people on this call, if you're either like if you're around Monday afternoon or like Tuesday or Wednesday morning, like the times just before and after the Ceph day, send us a message and we'll see if there's enough of us, we'll see if it's possible to arrange something like special for us. Okay. I don't know what would be available, but we can try to arrange something dedicated if you guys, if there's like say 10 of us or so, then it might be possible to just like do a tour of, I don't know, the CMS detector or something like that.
That'd be cool.
Send me and Julien and Roberto a mail if you would be interested in something like that. But please don't like send that to everybody because we can't like right now there's like 150 people registered, so we can't we simply can't organize like dedicated tours for everyone.
Cool. Thanks for trying to do that.
Any other questions on it? Sounds good. Okay, I'll close that. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. Julien's doing most of the work organizing it, so big thanks to Julien. But it's gonna be a really good day.
Yep, I'm sure it sounds like it. I guess that wraps it up here. I'll send out a Ceph users email. I figure this time works well for most people here. Obviously, since you're on the call. Sometime before the next one, probably the last Wednesday of September. Sticking with that. Other than that, thanks for joining in, and hopefully we can stay interesting enough to keep this going.
Thanks for organizing.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for organizing as well.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Yep, well, maybe we'll see some of you at CERN in a month here, or a couple of weeks, really.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.